All right. So yeah, bro. So my parents own a school. So if there's something that they own a building, they own a school building, they own a building that is eventually going to become a school. So if it's
Like,
something that you want to,
wow,
if you want to
that's
host
incredible.
one of your, uh, if you want to host one of your events there, bro, you can, bro. You know, we one of the other things that I do, and because we've hosted like 20. We've hosted about 25 events just for business and entrepreneurs. You know, last year, I wanted to do like an event for just, people in our Christian community and people who, follow God, gospel night and everything. And so during Art Basel, we hosted our first Art Basel event at the school in the
Huge.
auditorium, which was the church. It was a smaller church. And we had about 100 or so people come, and it was just like praise and worship. It was spoken word. It was performances. It was, conversations, podcasts, and all type of stuff. So if you want to kind of run that, if you want to use our location to kind of run that play, and we could maybe do something, if the time sees, whatever. So it's
Yeah,
just,
you never know. Look, all I'm
that
saying is Miami is great. I have prayed. Like, I've watched so many Art Basel things, and I'm like, dang, God, give me the wisdom to be able to even do something at that caliber or to speak to people in this way. And it's like, I feel like he's definitely giving me that wisdom. And the year is just getting started. And I'm like, yo, I can't even explain how full I still am off of eating in the last like just couple months. And I'm like, oh, this is just beginning. So, but yeah, like lo and behold, God is really good and the possibilities are quite endless. So yeah, whatever, what I'm saying, works out, shout out to God.
it's 100%. That's dope. All right. So let's get into it, y'all. I mean, this is another episode of the Secure Your Future podcast conversation, or however you want to call it, y'all. And we have a special guest today, somebody who, we've seen on social media crush it, somebody who in the, content creation space has been a vehicle and a vessel, and somebody who in the spiritual space when it comes to his faith walk with Jesus and God, who is very instrumental in pushing the business and the entrepreneurship and the creative narration, but also emulating that of which, people like to see when it comes to bringing people closer to the word. So we got a special guest, probably going to cover all areas of what we like to cover in the 7 areas. But, my name is Amari, and we got a special guest. So the first thing we could do, Ron, I guess, introduce yourself and just tell the people,
Man,
how you bring value, what do you do, what you're all about.
I just want to say, Amari, thank you. Thank you. That was like, it's so cool because here's the thing. I live my life and I can't see me. Like, even right now, we're looking on camera, it's just a reflection. I've never actually been able to see me. So other people actually have the opportunity to describe what they see me as out of what it is that I've been presenting in my life. And I just want to say thank you for what a beautiful way to be described. I'm super excited. My name is Rohn. I'm from New York City, and somehow the internet kind of makes sense to me. Somehow the algorithm makes sense to me. Somehow God has graced me with the ability to see culture. And then also like, he's also given me wisdom to intersect that culture with the kingdom. So what I do on the internet is, one, I teach people how to utilize the internet to their advantage. And then two, I also bring who I am to the internet, which is trying to teach people the gospel, trying to show people kindness, trying to show that treating people with love and grace and mercy is what we should be doing, generosity, and so on and so forth. So I get to live out biblical principles and then show that in content. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. And it's really crazy what happened on the back end. Like just maybe an hour or so ago, I had a consulting call, and I was like, "Hey, this video has 1.2 million views, but it's not about the views that it's really all about. What I really want to talk to you about is that is the equivalent of 119 days worth of people watching, right? And that is actually time spent inspiring other people. What is it that you're doing that can inspire other people to do what it is that they feel like they're supposed to do? So if I give you a snapshot into who I am, that's it. I'm just your friendly neighborhood creative who's trying to inspire another person to do what God told them to do.
Yeah, I like that. Make sure you take that tag. I'm just your friendly neighborhood creative. All right, all right, Miles Morales.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my Instagram bio actually. I just changed it back. So we're locked in.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope, man. That's awesome. What part of New York are you from?
So I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Park Slope. And then I was in the Bronx. We was in Bed-Stuy. And then ended up in Connecticut. I won't tell a lot of people that. Ended up in Connecticut for a little bit.
Shout out Connecticut.
Shout out Connecticut.
Bridgeport.
203.
I got some people over there.
Yeah, Bridgeport. I lived in Stratford. And then I moved to Vegas. Was in Vegas for about 9 years. And then I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And now I just travel full time.
Wow. So now you travel full time. Let me ask you this question, right? And this is the first thing we kind of ask our guests when they come and we have a conversation. We want to know like the backstory, right? And so I guess the first thing we're going to ask is, you know, based off what you know now, based off what you have in your heart, what you have in your head, your knowledge base, you know, if you can go like 10 years ago from this exact moment, you know, what would you tell yourself? What are some of the things that you would tell yourself? Or are some of the things that you would, you know, say, hey, look, young Rohn, listen.
Young fella.
X, Y. So what are some of those things?
One, I would tell him that his beard is going to grow. I was obsessed with having a beard when I was like 19. So 29 years old, for 10 years ago, I would tell Rohn to double down, triple down, quadruple down on everything. Doesn't matter. This is one of the most fundamental times of your life. When I was 19, I was in Bible college, and someone told me this. They said, this is a tithe of your adulthood. And I was like, yeah, sure. It is, in fact, a tithe of my adulthood. I gave the first part of my adulthood to God, and he's tremendously blessed me on the back end so far. And I believe that there's so much more to come, but triple down. You're reading, you're learning, triple down. You're creating habits, triple down. You want to do that? Go, triple down, go do it. It's the only time that you can do it without responsibility. You want to learn social media? Go do it, triple down, become the best. No one tells you that at that age because you think you have time. But the reality is triple down, learn it, be it. I was just watching a movie last night or the night before last night called A Complete Unknown. It's about Bob Dylan. And I was so inspired because the movie is about Bob Dylan when he's 20 years old. Bob Dylan, every time that he wakes up in the movie, doesn't matter what scene of the movie it was, whenever he wakes up, the first thing he picks up is his guitar. And I'm like, what am I doing like that in my life right now? And the only people that really have the mental capacity to do that and the energy are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Like that time of your life, those 5 years, you have so much energy to do stupid things. But if you hyper focus in that time, you become real dangerous. Because if you figure out what your gift is before you're 25 and you learn how to monetize it before you're 25, you could be wealthy by the time you're 30. And I just wish that someone actually told me that. Because I was already locked in on a lot of things, but it's like, I could have been better. Also to invest in Bitcoin, but that's another story.
Shout out Bitcoin.
Shout out
When's
Bitcoin.
the first time you saw Bitcoin actually?
Somewhere around there. There was a movie with Shamik Moore. And I remember watching that movie and I was like, yo, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I like the movie. The movie is cool. Like, it's dope. Shout out the movie dope. And I specifically, I'm not kidding you. I swear. God told me, he said, put $20 in Bitcoin. And I was like, and that was just real early in my faith walk. So I was like, nah, that don't make no sense. God going to gamble. That's kind of dumb. Like, nah, investments are in the Bible, God. I just want to throw that out there. And I was like, no, I don't have $20. I'm not going to do it. It was pennies on the dollar. I would have had maybe 500 Bitcoin by investing $20 in Bitcoin. I would be a multi-billionaire right now if I had that much Bitcoin. And it's like something that I'm like, why, God? Why didn't you? And he's like, I told you at least 3 times and you didn't do it. So that's your disobedience. That's not on me. And I'm like, okay, all right. Play me like a flute. But that was my introduction to Bitcoin.
No.
Today, this episode is brought to you by Liquid Brokers, a licensed and regulated trading platform that opens up the foreign exchange markets for you to trade currencies and cryptocurrency. Let's dive in. First and foremost, Liquid Brokers is a platform that's licensed and regulated, which means you can trade with peace of mind. They offer a 1 to 500 leverage, giving you the opportunity to make the most of your trades. Plus, if you're outside of the US, you'll have access to the MT5 trading platform. But wait, there's more. Liquid Brokers also provides you with access to their in-house trading platform, Liquid Charts, and Liquid Charts Pro. This allows you to trade on the go, making it easy to stay on top of your investments. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. You can actually refer the platform as an affiliate and earn cryptocurrency every day. That's right. You can use your earnings to build your crypto portfolio, your trading account, or for whatever you want in your everyday life. So, what are you waiting for? Head to the description and use the link to create your free Liquid Brokers account. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more awesome content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.
Bro, that's crazy because I tell people the same thing. People ask me all the time, you know, when did you first hear about Bitcoin? I'm like, I was sitting in a movie theater. It was 2015. I was watching this movie named Dope. And, you know, I could tell you everything about the movie, but the only thing that matters is that he found a way how to move that weight or dope or whatever you want to call it without anybody knowing, without any interference, without any obstruction. And I was like, this is crazy.
Bro,
and that's
figured it out.
That's the same time, you know, I heard about it. But
Bro, they was giving us free game.
Bro, free game, absolute free game, bro. And that's it. And hindsight is 2020 because if I could go back 10 years ago, that would be one of the things I would have told myself based off what I know now. But the crazy part is like hindsight is 2020, but this never happens like that because you could only gain knowledge on your story or gain knowledge on the things that you know once time has passed. Like time really tells all. You know,
it tells all. Yeah. I would have never missed the $20, bro. That's just one meal at Chipotle. I would have never missed that $20.
10 years ago, it might have been like 5 meals at Chipotle. 10 meals. Chipotle wasn't even around, I don't think. Maybe.
Chipotle has been taxing, though, because I literally get one meal with extra everything and the guac, and it's $17, and I get a drink, and it's $20. And I'm like, wow, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Man, talk about inflation, bro. Einstein, when I was in elementary school, we used to go to this Einstein.
The bagel.
The bagel was like 95 cents, like plain toasted with butter. Now it's like $2 and $3. I'm like, oh man, times really changed. Inflation, bro. Inflation is crazy.
Oh, man. Hey, and they not paying us more, and rent's still going up, and it's
Talk
crazy.
about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Sorry, that's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother story. But all those things can be fixed if you figure out what your gift is. Not gonna lie, because people will pay you out the Yahoo because you figured out what your gift is. Because your gift is not for you, your gift is for other people. And once you figure out how that gift works for others, they'll pay you for it. It's a gift to you, free to you, cost them. Again,
how did you figure out? You know, so now that we know, you know, what you would have told yourself about doubling down, you know, how did you figure out, like, where did it all start for you in terms of, I guess, where you are now? Like, how did that process start in terms of content and in terms of, you know, knowing how to leverage, you know, different social media platforms? Like, where did your story start when it comes to that portion of your life?
Yeah. I think you have to look at your history. History is really important. Like your history tells of your past, but it also is like a bypass into your future. There's a quote, I can't remember. It's from a movie that came out very recently, but it's really good. It's in my notes somewhere. But essentially this, you got to know where you came from. You got to pay attention to who's investing and mentoring in you, and also your self-talk. Those are the 3 things that I think are really important. Look at God. Wow. Those are 3 things that are really important. So historically, I have always been into dance, music, acting, theater, and culture. I remember being 9 or 10 years old and telling myself, I know where culture is going, so I'm going to make sure that I stay on top of it. I remember being a kid and saying that to myself out loud. I was on 4th Avenue on Butler and 4th. I was walking home from school. I was like, for some reason, culture makes so much sense to me that I know where it's going to go, right? That's a gift. Kids just be like spewing out gifts. Someone's got to cultivate it. And then I remember telling myself every day, you're not creative. This is my self-talk. You're not creative. You're not creative. That was stupid, but it was really the devil trying to take away the one thing that if I really got that down, it would change my life. Then when I was probably about 18, right? I had a guy, his name is Sean Cannell. I'll always give him credit for this. Sean Cannell looked me in the eye. And he's like, you made this video on YouTube? He was like, yeah, I got 100,000 views. He's like, did anyone teach you how to do this? I was like, no. He's like, You edited this entire video and 16 other videos. You decided to batch content because you knew you weren't going to have a camera. So you made 16 videos. You edited all of them. You found out how to download the app for free. And then you figured out how to make this video optimized to get 100,000 views. I was like, I think so. He was like, looked me dead in the eyes and said, Ron, you are creative. And I was like, oh, that changed my life. Because my confession over myself was, you are not. And I had one person that I looked up to that told me that I was, and it changed everything. That was when I started taking content seriously. That was when I picked up a camera for real. That was when I started making videos. That was when I started to understand like this is really important. Now, I have to understand because of content that it changes, or I'm sorry, because of culture, it changes. So everyone's like, yo, you got to like make movies. And I was like, yes, that's not what people are paying attention to right now. If you look at the biggest pages, no one's making movies. Like, have you ever noticed the things that you work really hard on, you spend 40 hours making, only gets 40 views? When the thing that you took 4 seconds to make gets 40,000, 400,000. Bro, I made a video earlier this week. It's 11 seconds, 15 seconds long. I sang in Spanish. It has 1.2 million views. But a video I could spend 6 days working on to get 6,000 views. And it's like, yo, that's devastating to your psyche. That's devastating to your creative input. Well, actually, I have to know now what works and what doesn't work. Because if I'm doing what doesn't work in front of people that do work, or in front of things that do work, I'm only going to get disappointed because there's now a gap, the gap of expectation. And it's like, that's not worth it. So essentially, I combine those things and I go, oh, wow, okay, this works in my favor. And it's only gotten better. Then one person ended up praying for me. He was like, you're creative. And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, no, this is going to change your life. It's going to open up doors. And I just stepped into it. And that's exactly what happened. Like, that's exactly what happened. So I'm just grateful to God because it's like, I would have not been able to do this without God, those mentors, me understanding my life, going through my history, God challenging me to go through my history, to actually go within myself to say like, hey, look at where you come from. Look at who you really are, who I've actually made you to be. And then me just going for it. And none of it's a guarantee. I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing next week. But it's like, I know I'm going to make something. I know I'm going to be on the internet. So, yeah.
No, that's dope, man. That's dope. Congrats on all your success so far. That's amazing.
Thank you, man. There's so much. God, like, here's the thing. Your best days haven't even happened yet. So it's like, all right, let's run it. Like, that idea that you have in your brain, let's do it. Why not? Go until you hear a no, for real. And no really just means the redirection. So it's like, let's figure it out.
So I heard something, right? And you said that the person that you looked up to, although you were telling yourself that you are not creative, they said, hey, they recognize that you had a gift, even though it may have not seemed big, right? 100,000 views isn't necessarily the biggest video, but
in 2011, that was big.
Right. So now maybe not, but even then, there's probably some videos that had millions of views, right? And that person may have seen that, but they realized that you had a gift, not even knowing that they could potentially spark the thing in you that's going to take you to, 14 years later. Congrats on that video. And so what do you have to say to the person that, I guess the creatives or the people who want to create, who have like this roadblock when it comes to creating? Like, how did they get over that? What is it?
Yeah.
What if they have that person? Like, what if they don't have?
I'm so ready. We have a lot of creatives who are constipated. A lot of creatives who hoard their best ideas because they're scared that God's not going to give them another good one. Like, they don't output because they're scared that there's not going to be enough in. When we're supposed to live in abundance, we're supposed to trust God, we're supposed to be living in faith and have hope for things that are unseen. That's what faith is, right? But we don't ever let go of what we're supposed to let go of. If you had every idea held in your hands, gripped tightly, and I said, hey, I'm going to give you this, what's your response? If you had every idea, they're all basketballs in your arms, and I said, I have the best idea, it's going to be worth $1 million. Are you going to drop what's in your hands to take what I have? Or are you going to keep your ideas and try to hold all of them? When the reality is the idea is supposed to be dropped. You're not supposed to drop the ball, but you're supposed to drop the idea so that people can actually see it. If you never do it, they'll never know. If you never open your mouth, if you never make the video, if you never do the content, they'll never know. And we kind of like live in this world where it's like, yo, everyone knows. It's like, no, nobody watched your story, babe. Like we don't actually know what's going on in your life. We don't actually know what's going on in your head. Get it out. Execute the idea because someone needed it. The idea was not for you. It's for someone else. But like, you gotta like, that's the thing I need to hear in order to get the project out, in order to get the creativity out, in order to get the XYZ out. And that I think will make a world of a difference. It might not be tied to your identity like it was for me. It might just be like this perfectionism. Like, dude, my worst videos are the best videos. Like, and your first videos are guaranteed to be your worst videos. So it's like, go for it.
Man, and it's crazy you say that because so I run a lot of
Start.
You're good.
Say that one more time.
All right, we're good. Yeah. So one of the things that it's crazy you say that because my best videos are the videos that I've spent the least time amount of, posting. Like you have a 1.2. Bro, you have a 1.2 million viewed post, which is an amazing video. It was very funny. I'm sure people in Miami loved it for sure. That's why I'm in South Florida.
For sure. Like,
yeah,
me singing a Bad Bunny song?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was, he must be Dominican.
You could pass for a Dominican for sure.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because people think that you have to put all this effort into making content, which the effort comes from doing the thing over and over and over again, right? So you know what works. Like you have to be bad at it long enough to get good at it fast enough.
Yes.
Right.
Ooh.
And one of the
that's
best.
Good.
Yeah, I got that from Myron Golden. So shout out to him. I got it from him. And so one of the things that I've seen even is that when I'm posting videos for other people, like, I have a client that I post content for. Their most viral video was a 5.9 million view. This was like last September, 5.9 million view posts. It was 7 seconds and it was of them talking to somebody. So it was B-roll footage. They didn't even say a word in it. There was no words in it, right? One of my most viral views is 1.8 million views. It was a side-by-side video where I'm just reacting to something that was valuable to, I guess, the people who were watching it, right? And you have a 1.2 million posts using, you have a lot of, your posts go crazy. It's like, I think what we have to understand is that it's like, man, just post the thing so you know how to get better at it. Because like you said, if you don't post it, they don't know you, right? They won't know how to flow you. But then also, if you don't post it, you won't know how to get better from it. Because if you post 50 videos, then you can say, yo, out of these 5 or 10 videos, these are the ones that the people are resonating with the most. And let me maybe not post all my content that way, but let me post more of that thing over other ways to post.
Because I just want to use what works. You got to keep doing what works. Bro, like, my saying right now is minimum effort, maximum efficiency. What is gonna give you the best return for the least amount of effort? That's marketing. That's good business. I'm gonna keep doing what costs me as little. That's why we have fast fashion. Fast fashion is, this cost me 2 pennies. I'm charging you 200. I'm gonna keep doing this because I get the 198. And it's like, that's really what that's what people need. And if you making get ready with me videos and they go crazy and you're like, but no, I want to do this. Bro, shut up. Lock in. Do what works. When you get the attention, it's when you can say what you want. When everyone's paying attention, when you're on your soapbox and they come in to see you and not to see what that is, then say what you want. You're asking me for what's in my brain because of memes I made years ago. You know what I'm saying? The meme got me the attention and now we're here. I get to say what I want. So it's like it's all delayed gratification. And most people, especially creatives, do not understand that whatsoever. And I just wish that we had the patience to say, I have to do what I must so that I could do what I want later.
Yeah. That's good. So you're pretty much saying as a creative, once you start to post the things that you like to post and that you want to post based on your knowledge, whatever works is what you should keep posting because the goal is to get enough attention. And then when you get that attention, then you can, show a little more what you explain that? Like, is that what you're saying?
100%. Think of Jesus, okay? When Jesus first started, he wasn't talking. He was healing people. Like, if I look at his life, bro spent a lot of time healing. I'm going to these cities, I'm going to heal people, 5,000 people came to see him regularly. Then he was like, all right, I got to say something. I can't heal all y'all right now because that would be a little too much. I mean, he could. But the reality of it is, he spent a lot of his time actually doing works, healing, being controversial, being in the mix of everything. And then he did the Sermon on the Mount. And then, like, he fed them 5,000. Like, that, like, if you did anything like that, people will start paying attention to you. When the attention is given, that's the most valuable asset, attention. When the attention is given, then I can say what I need to. And literally, because you've been silent in the right way, whatever you say is valuable, because they're like, how the heck did you do that? How did you get there? I made a video with penguins, got 3.2 million views, changed everything. Like, it's that is the sauce in prayer. But yes.
Now, yeah, 100%. Right. No, we're going to get into that too, for sure. So
Yeah.
for somebody who's never posted a video, right? Somebody who's never posted a piece of content or that's trying to figure it out, like, how should they start? Like, what platform should they use? Like, is there a particular platform that people should use? Is there a particular way that people should post? Should they post longer videos, shorter videos? Like, what?
So that all
for
depends
people
on
that are
you.
listening,
If you're doing a vlog, if you want to do a vlog, go for it. Hit that vlog. If you want to do a podcast, hit the podcast. Do it also a video podcast as well. If you think that short form content is where you want to stay, be there. That there's no real like depiction. Like the type of content in that way, I don't know how to categorize that. Long form, short form. Like you pick that, right? Then you make that style content based on what it is that you like and do. I went to a restaurant yesterday and just recorded myself drinking water, looking at the menu. That's content, right? What I can do with that is infinite. I can put words over it. I can like talk about what it looks like to have spent alone time with yourself. I can do infinite amount of things with that using a trending sound, right? So it all depends on who you are. You got to know who you are, because if you don't know what you're going to get, everything you're saying is useless. If you haven't put in the work to know who you are, whose you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, it'll be a lot harder to actually make content because you're just going to be yapping. This is why people get podcasts. They get a podcast mic and they start talking. And it's like, well, did you do any research? You said that. Did you actually know what it is you're talking about? I don't want to get caught out there. That's not my MO. So it's your first piece of content. Take a platform. Go for it. Like, don't wallow around. Don't beat around the bush. You're on Pinterest. Baby, I need you to do one Pinterest post a day. Sometimes two. Get your links right. Learn how to do it. You want to be on YouTube? Hey, get that vlog up every single week. Do that product review every single week. Do that podcast and don't quit. Most people start a podcast, they don't even make it to episode 4. You making it to episode 5 is better than 50% of people that have ever done a podcast. Keep going. You want to start on TikTok? Start yapping in your car. You want to start on Instagram? Hit those trends. It's not hard. All you gotta do is pick and then do that. That makes sense?
Yeah, we're good. Sometimes the connection is kind of tough, so I'm just doing this. But once we go, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right.
Great. I'm not worried about it at all.
Going back. Yeah, so that's dope. Let me ask you this, man. So being in a space where I guess you have, here's what I see a lot, right? And this is being in church. This is what I kind of want to talk to you about. It's like, man, for example, we host this thing called The Gathering, right? Where a whole bunch of Christians, we come together. A lot of us create content, are musicians, a lot of musicians, a lot of everything. And I'm like, man, like my friend just released a single, and she's on a fast right now, so it's different. But we all are, but so she's not posting on social. But before that, I was like, yo, you have a single coming out, like make like a 9-10 second, like just real quick thing of you singing a song. She just sing, like she just sing. And I think that, do you think that there's a blockage when somebody is serving in a church or they're singing in the church worship team that they don't, and they have their own stuff going on as well? Do you think that there's like a blockage when it comes to promoting their own thing versus them still promoting the church. Because I believe you could do both. But do you think there's a blockage in that, like creating content
Oh,
that
100%.
is not particularly like? What do you think about? What are your thoughts on that?
You're
And how can
not
people get
the
over?
church's billboard. It's not your responsibility to post for the church. So like you doing that is on your own merit, and that's fun. Please post for the church, right? I think the church has painted a very negative pseudo narrative because they never said it. It's what we thought ourselves. I've never heard a pastor say you're not humble by doing XYZ. It's us. That's your own thoughts, right? But the church community has created a bad narrative on humility. It's actually less humble of you not to be yourself in its totality. Prideful to not be yourself. Because here's what the definition of biblical humility is. Biblical humility is knowing God's accurate value of yourself. And I actually have to align myself to know what God's actual view of who I am is. By knowing that, I know what I must do, and I also know what I must not do. If you know you're made to make music, and you think you're not making content about your music, is you being prideful. It's actually because you have a lack of understanding of who God sees you as. And so it's not wrong of you to post about your music on your page that you built, that you are doing. It's your thing. But we think other people are going to think that when they're not paying your bills, nor are they buying your music. I can't keep talking to the audience that I'm going to be judged by. I can only talk to the audience that's going to me. And if you don't, because you think I'm doing this for my own gain, yes, babe, I got to do it for my own gain because I have to pay bills. I have the life to live. The Bible says labor is worth their wage. Labor, be worth your wage. And if you don't, God calls that person wicked. God gave person a talent. He buried that bad boy. He came back. He said, what did you do with what I gave you? Nothing. I buried it. I was scared. Sounds an awful lot like our friend here. God calls that person wicked. I'm not wicked. That's not me. That's not my portion. That's not going to be me. Like, Jesus had a carpenting business. Brother wasn't broke. You know how much money you gotta have to have an accountant and another person stealing money and you not be bothered by it? When's the last time someone stole money and you wasn't bothered? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I gotta put that stuff in perspective. So like, there's no way. Jesus had other people handling his money. That's crazy. You don't tell people to handle your money if you got $5 in your bank account. I'm not hiring an accountant. If I'm broke, I'm hiring a CPA when I got CPA money. We got things. So like, I think we just think it's bad for us to have the good things. And that's never been the case. Never been the case. It's bad for those things to have you. Because if it's gone tomorrow, what are you really going to act? What are you going to do? That's different. If you crashing out because you lost something, that's different. I crashed my car, my dream car. Got my dream car a couple years ago, and I crashed it in November. Yes, I was upset. But it's just a car, dog. Like, I get fixed. It's fine. I'm okay. Praise God. I'm not in the hospital. Like, everything's good. No one's hurt. Everything's good. God will fix it. God, it's a car. It's a vehicle. But there's also the psychology of people who their parents value things more than they value them. So now it's stuck in their brains. Oh, I broke the pot. Bro, break the dang pot. You burnt your hand. Are you okay? That's more important. But most people haven't even, again, inner work. You got to do the inner work. That's a reflection of what God is trying to teach you. So it's like, oh man, that was really deep and long-winded, but like, we just got to be very aware. Does that thing have you or do you have that thing? We're supposed to have dominion over everything. The ground in heaven is made out of gold. God don't give a rip about money. And he don't give a rip about you having money. He just want to make sure it don't have you.
Wow. Now that was powerful. And it's crazy you say that because you can go two ways with that. I was listening to somebody said that when Jesus, and there's two things I want to say, right? I probably may forget the next point, but the first thing is that he mentioned the time when he fed the 5,000 and the disciples will come back to Jesus and say, hey, Jesus, like these people are hungry. Like, what are we going to do? You know, should we send them off to go and get food? And Jesus was like, no. He was like, no, you're good. But then also they asked, if you remember the story correctly, they asked, well, should we go and get them food? right? And so now you have Jesus's followers, which is about 12 or so followers plus, other people around him. For them to not ask, for them to ask, should we go and get them food for 5,000 people? That means that they had enough money to go and feed them, right? And it's like whenever we go into the store, think about this. So whenever we go into the store and I say, yo, Ron, you want something? The assumption is automatically I have enough money in order to cover you and whoever else that I'm with, based off of my bank account, based off of what I think where we're at. You're only gonna ask that question if you know that you have it, right? And so when you think about it, and I was talking to this is somebody who has made a lot of money in his life, and they were saying money is abundant, and Jesus wasn't poor, right? It just money wasn't the thing that had him. He never led with money first. He led with, his acts of service, the word of God, the principles that he practiced. And by way of that, he had riches only in money, relationships, and all these other things. And it's like Jesus never even had a house. I mean, he never stayed at his own house. He never had it. Right?
He never needed
because
to.
He had other things that made him rich. But the disciples thing is crazy, because I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, I never thought about it like that. Like for them to go and say, should we go and get them food? And Jesus was like, nah, that means that they had to have the money.
Had to. Because a couple of chapters before that, Peter sold his whole business. Yeah. Matthew never had to give all his. Matthew was a tax collector. Tax collectors were rich. The Bible never said Matthew was like, yeah, let me go ahead and give all the stuff away. Like, I never thought of that. Like, what a nuance. That's really beautiful. That's super beautiful.
No, 100%. And we were in crew the other day, last week, and one of the questions was like, how do you make sure you focus? Like, how do you decipher, how do you feel when you keep Jesus first instead of, believing in Jesus first, that he's going to make it happen, besides believing that you can just do it all on yourself? And I gave this answer. Before we get into the next thing, I gave this answer to kind of piggyback off what you were saying. I said, rich or not, that has nothing to do with, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with, I guess, Jesus, right? Like, you can be rich and not believe in Jesus. Like, there's a lot of people like that in the world. Most people in the world are like that,
Yes.
right? But when you do believe in Jesus and you do have money, or you are striving for the thing that you want to do, then what happens is that I feel like you have a better peace in your heart, because no matter if it works out the way you want it to, in the time you want it to, no matter if it doesn't work out, as long as you keep Jesus first, that there's a greater plan anyway, because we know that we've already won. So no matter what happens, there's a peace, there's a different level of peace in our heart based off what we believe in, based off of what eternity said. And so I gave that explanation as well. And I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said, because what you said was very, very, very profound, bro.
I think that changes my perspective. That was really good. Thank you. That's like, what a real thing. I've never, hey, bro, let's go here. If I offer you to go, if I'm saying, let's go to this restaurant, I'm paying. You want me to go? I'm not saying like, oh, give me your card. That's weird. What a great, golly, that's so good. That's so good. No, 100%. Yeah, man.
So what got you into the faith walk? Like, how did that start for you? How did your faith journey start? How did your spiritual journey start? When did it start? Like, what's the backstory on that? And how did that even lead you into content creation?
So when I was 16, I moved to Vegas. I mean, my family like always were like, yo, we're going to go to church. But I never, for some reason, it never clicked in my brain. I never understood what was going on. I was 16. I went to Vegas. My dad and my stepmom, they were like, you're going to church. I was like, great, let's go to church. I can't wait. Like, let's do it. They were like, and I was like, I have no problem going to church. Like, it's cool. But I always was like, I had a very strong internal moral compass. Like, I was like, I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not into that. Like, I'm not going to drink. Like, I'm not going to do anything with, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had a very strong internal moral compass. And so I was like, I'm pretty solid, but like, let me understand why this is happening. I went to church when I was 16. I went to a youth ministry at the church LV. It was called Seven Youth Ministry at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. I went and I immediately knew, I was like, yo, this is the most amazing thing I've ever been to. And I told myself, I remember making an inner vow, I'm never missing this again. So I went every Wednesday 4 weeks later, I got saved. 4 weeks later, just from being at church, I got saved, and I immediately started serving. I immediately went into small groups. I just got really plugged in, and I never unplugged. Well, I ran away from God for a little bit, but yeah, I just never unplugged. So once I got saved, it kind of like all kind of just one fell swoop. I went to Bible college after I graduated high school. And then I started working at my church as a kids pastor. And when you're a kids pastor, you got to know the Bible. So I was really learning as I was going, teaching these kids about Bible stories. And then I moved to Oklahoma. I'm going to skip a couple of years. I moved to Oklahoma, and I was like, oh, I have to put everything I've ever done and known into practice because church is different over here. And so I had to lock in a little bit differently that way. I learned how to listen to God differently because of my pastors. But last year, I spent some time with a guy. His name is Dr. Manny Arango. Dr. Manny Arango sat me down. He was the first person to ever, at a pastoral level, sit me down and go, this is how you read your Bible. That one day, 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, changed my life. Because now I read my Bible with a completely different lens. I ingest God's word differently. I can consume God's word at a high capacity and retain a lot of it without, like missing it. I mean, I miss things. I'm not perfect, but like, I don't miss as much. And now I have enough to teach people. And he taught me the importance of being full. And if you're not full, everything else is kind of foolish, to be honest. Like, I've got to stay full. If I want to do a podcast like this, you know how weird it would have been to get that one story when he fed like, that's embarrassing. And I remember after in my season of running away from God that I didn't read my Bible for probably about a year or so. And people would ask me for wisdom. I'm like, oh, I know the answer to this. Me being me. And by the time I opened my mouth, I didn't know what verse it was. I didn't know where it was in the Bible. I didn't know what I was talking about no more. And I was like, whoa. I've run so far away from God that the normal things that I would know about him are now foreign to me. I don't like this. So it's been a progressive journey. It's a progression. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect, but I will always be progressing. And that's my life. That's my aim. That's my goal. But it's difficult because I have to die to myself every single day. I mean, it's like, that's it. Every single day, I have to do multiple things that I don't really want to do. I don't actually ever really want to read my Bible. But the reality is, I want to know who God is. I want to fall more in love with Jesus. I want to fill my entire Bible. I want to give my Bible to my son. That brother ain't born. I ain't even got a wife. I ain't even got a girlfriend. But you know what? I'm writing in my Bible every day to whoever that person is. I'm praying for them all the time. Doing the same thing for my future wife. When I meet the girl I know I want to marry, I'm not marrying her until the day I fill my Bible. I'm going to have to do it. That's my commitment to myself. So it's like, oh, when are we going to get married? When I finish this, don't distract me. Let me lock in. And on top of that, I don't even really want to tell her because I want it to be a surprise. So hopefully she don't watch this depending on who it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a covenant I've made with God to let him be my Lord and my Savior. And that means it works even if I don't. God works even if I don't. But I still got to hold up my end of the bargain. But not in a legalistic way. But it's just like, this is my commitment to you, God. The one that true God. It's only up to you, God. So shout out, what's his name? Chance the Rapper for that.
Shout out Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
So now that's amazing. That you say that. And I like how you said that, you're not perfect and you ran away from God for a little bit. And I ran away from God probably more so than most, honestly. And I went to Dallas Baptist University, bro. I don't know if you know what that is, but
you was locked in.
In Dallas.
Dallas Baptist? Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, man.
You was locked in.
And I was, I have a kind of similar thing where, where the further out the environments that I was in, the environments that I were in that were not conducive to like the Jesus and to the faith walk, I found myself bringing people closer to Jesus in those environments. And the environments that, like a DBU where we went to chapel twice a day, like and all these things, I found myself drifting a little more, from that. And it's weird. It was weird time in my life. But like now looking back, if I can go back, I would have said, man, I should have used that to gain more knowledge because all the environment was there for me to do so and not have to do it on my own. And it's like, you have this battle of, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But it's like, no, like I place you in this environment where here's all the tools. Now it's up to you to use them. And I'm giving you all the right to use these tools to be able to gain the knowledge. Because growing up as a kid, I was a kid, man. I used to watch VeggieTales. I was a kid who, grew up in church. I was in the kids choir at 8 years old. I was in the men's choir at 8 years old. I knew all the Bible stories. I was that kid. So when I look back, it's like, man, we talk about this, when you don't practice the principles over a period of time, you start to lose what's called like momentum. It's like posting in a way, right? And once you get big mo and like your spiritual walk as well, which is momentum, it's like, you don't want to lose her, because once you lose momentum, it's always hard to go back on the treadmill and get back in shape after you gained the weight, after you stop going, And so I just look at that in your story and it's like, man, the way that you've been able to build on the momentum that you now have over a course of time, even though you took that little kind of walk away, that's commendable for somebody like you. My next question is this.
Well,
because you believe in Jesus.
It might be the last one. My battery is running low on the iPad, but I'm locked in.
Okay, cool. So because you believe in Jesus, what limits are there to what kind of content that you post? Because people may look at like that Bad Bunny thing, right? And I'm nobody to judge. I thought it was a great video and may look at, Christian posting Bad Bunny. I don't know. Like, how do you safeguard that? And how do you like monitor that?
Yeah. Well, one, I think that I'm not doing anything out of character. I looked up the lyrics of the song. I miss my people. I wish I gave them more kisses and hugs while I knew them. I hope my people never move away. You can't fault me for that. Even if the song in itself had a curse word, even if the person of Bad Bunny himself was a bad person, you can't fault me for making a video about saying, I love my people. You can't. So you got to be careful, because what you say, you're accountable for it. So that's a real thing. But people are like, yo, like, you can't listen to DMX or whatever because How am I supposed to know how to impact these people? I'm not going to know that by singing all these hymns. I got to stay tapped in. I also need to live a life strong enough to know that that's not going to corrupt me. If that's not for you, then those are not your people to reach. Maybe your people to reach are the people that are inside of this wall. The people that are outside of this wall are the people that I'm called to. I'm called to the people from the hood. I'm called to the people that do this. I'm called to the people that speak like that. That means I have to know. And to ignore it is irresponsible. So, but I also have limitations on myself. Hey, will I use a Doja Cat song? Maybe not. But like, I'll stop at like I did a SZA song, right? SZA and Kendrick Lamar. That's the way I like it. And I was like, why do you always talk about the Bible? Because that's the way I like it. But as soon as that part of the song is over, they cursing. And before that part of the song even started, they cursing. But I got my little space, and I still reached 80,000 people. I'm okay with that. You can't be mad at me for reaching 80,000 when you're talking about theophanies and you're only talking to 4 people. No offense to you, but I just told 80,000 people that they should be looking at their Bible more than they're looking at anything else. You talk about theophanies. Theophanies will not help my theology. I mean, it does help your theology, but it doesn't help my salvation. That's what I care about. So I have to be accountable for what it is that I say and what it is. I mean, I'm not accountable for what I don't say. I'm accountable for what comes out of my mouth. So, for example, Bad Bunny, although he could be a good or a bad person, still made a video about me missing my people. Still made a video about giving hugs and kisses to the people that I care about. No matter how you spill that, no matter how you say that, that's always going to be good. But I also made a video with a Kendrick Lamar SZA song, and I know full well that before that part of the song comes up, they're cursing. After that part of the song comes up, they're cursing. And I got my little piece in there. And to be honest, 80,000 people seeing me say, why do you always talk about God? Because that's the way I like it. In comparison to some random person being like, this is a theophany, and 5 people watch it. Who's more effective? I'm about effectiveness. And I can put the theophany in the thing too. So like, what's really good? Like, it's not bad.
I gotta use it. That's where the attention is. Paul would go to Colosseums because that's where thousands of people were. But he wasn't talking at the well. No one was at the well. He says every time he went to the Colosseums, I'm gonna go where people are. That's that's maximizing culture.
No, that's amazing, bro. That's good. That's good,
Thank you.
man. Yeah, I believe you can use to a certain extent. You could use, you know, videos and content that are not particularly like a gospel song or whatever. There's certain parts of different pieces of content to get our point across. And still serve the kingdom 100%. So I definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Don't let that distract you from like making good content. Like don't make bad content because you gotta use Kirk Franklin Revolution. No, you don't. Ain't nobody listening to that right now. And when it come back up, I'm gonna use Revolution. Book of Revelation, chapter 16 or something. Like I'm gonna use it in due time. But right now, it's not the main thing. So I'm gonna get there when I get there.
No, 100%. What is the monetization behind content creating, right?
It's
Especially in the way that
it's in
you
not on Instagram. Like Instagram is not finna pay you checks to pay your bills.
so
Brand.
wait, let me hold on. Let me frame this question though. Let me frame this question.
Okay.
So how can a two part. So how can somebody make money from posting content? And then also, what is the most amount of money somebody can make, posting content how you do? And if they wanted to get into like the content creating world or the documentation, two parts.
You can make 50, 60, $70,000 from one post. Yeah, is that me? Is that my testimony? No. I pray it is soon. But I've heard of people making six figures. Brother, if you have the right Keith Lee only talked about food. That brother will sit there, do you one of these, talking about we're gonna go to Dunkin' Donuts and rate it 10 out of 10. Huh? Are you kidding me right now? If you don't get in your content bag and figure out what it is that you do so that people can pay you to do that, because someone will pay you $10,000 if you bring them 10,000 clients. I'll pay $1 for every client that come to my place because of your video. That ain't no problem, especially if I'm selling something that's 50, 100, $200. Don't get rid. Get here. So like, you got to leverage your influence so that people will pay you for it. But we think, oh, because they got 100,000 followers, Instagram's just paying them. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Instagram is not paying people. Not like that. I got $28 for my million view video. $28. But being able to post multiple videos at 50K, I can get a brand to pay me $2,000 to make sure that I do that. And if I do that 4 times a month, that's $8,000. If I do that every month, that's 100K. So it's like, you got to break it down. What can you actually do in that way so that it could change your life?
How do you take content, right, and the money that you're making from content? How do you use, I guess, those finances to glorify God? How does that part work of the money making of
Maybe
the
tithe. Just give your first 10% to God. That's how you glorify God in your finances. Steward it well. That's how you glorify God in your finances. Make sure that you don't go broke again. That's how you steward it well. Because the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That's all I'm trying to do right now. I don't have to build the next church. I don't have to just give 10%, bro. Your first 10% belongs to the Lord, which means that it goes to a church house. Anything above and beyond is called an offering. Give it up to God. It doesn't have to be insane. It just got to get done. So, like, I think that if you can find that balance, you'll be more than okay. So, those are my thoughts on that, like, finance wise. And like, I'm not the best either. Like, I'm not like absolutely rich because I'm doing social media content. A lot of it is because I'm consulting churches or I'm speaking, things like that. That's where I want my finances to really be based in. But it's hard. It takes time. And I think this year will be the best year, hopefully, in Jesus' name. So we'll see. Because a lot of it is, I don't know. It's like, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in April. I don't want to be doing it in August. I just know I'm going to be doing this, and the right things will find me as long as I make myself available.
No, that's real. I'm happy you said that. And what do you think? What do you think social media will be in the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to content creation? Do you think that it'll be a mover and a shaker with AI and content creation? And how? Like, what are your thoughts on that on the industry as a whole, from all aspects of it?
I think it'll look different. I can't say what it'll look like, but I know it'll look different. I know that social media will still be a thing. We'll always be on our phones. It'll probably be on our wrists or in our glasses. And we're probably going to be selling things live. You can probably look at other people and see what they're wearing and then go ahead and just purchase it right off right there. It'll definitely look and feel different, but we should still be on it. We should still utilize it to our advantage. Don't miss out because you're like, I want it to be the old fashioned way. Brick and mortar stores are probably going to go away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could probably read a book in like 10 minutes because we'll have ChatGPT in our glasses. You'll be able to see it on the screen, but no one else will be able to see it. Like, I don't know necessarily what it looks like, but the point is to be on it. And there's no need for you to miss out because you're like, I'm scared. There's always going to be like people, 80% of people will always be that until it becomes the majority. But like, essentially that, I don't even know how to quantify that just yet, but basically.
That's good. That's good. So before we wrap it up, man, my last question is this. When you hear the phrase secure your future, what does that necessarily mean to you, per se?
When I hear the phrase secure your future, I really think it means wisdom. I think it means a wise person thinks of their future. An unwise person thinks of just right now. And it's like, how can I use wisdom to be able to really maximize now and later? A good man thinks about later. A great man thinks about later. A foolish man, a young, unwise child thinks about now. And it's really, and this is what it is. We're 30 now. We got to start thinking about this stuff because it makes a big difference in our lives. It makes a big difference in our kids' lives and the people that are attached to us because our lives are not our own. I have to start thinking for my family, even though I don't have them yet. I got to secure my future because if I don't, how could they ever really follow me and me be the leader of those people? So it's like, as a leader, I got to lock in. As a man, I got to secure my future because if I don't, who will? But it's also like a weird balance of faith at the same time. So yeah, those are my thoughts initially.
No, that's dope, man. Well, I just want to say thank you, guys. This is the conversation, man. We want to say thank you to Rohn for hopping on here. Where can the people follow you at on social media?
Yeah, man. Rohn Starling on everything: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. My website, ronstarling.com. So yeah, I would love to see you. I would love to be at your event. I would love to speak to you, consult with you. Anything that you need, really. I'm here to help. I'm just your friendly neighborhood creative.
I love that.
Yeah, bro. Thank you, man.